It's a dang shame and it pisses me off. There's always two sides and then there's the truth. When it's entertainment, acted out by actors for money, it's fine. From violence to pornography to perversion. But when it's real footage, somehow the videos disappear. Because it's all a flippin' money game. It's a risk. It's a giant game of risk. Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome to the ultimate YouTube channel all about music, psychology, education, growth, and encouragement. My name is Rosalie Elliott, and I'm really happy that you're here. Make sure to subscribe before we start our ride today. Today, I want to talk about something that is not music, even though it will be connected to music, and you'll see in a second what I mean. I want to talk a little bit about the current situation in Israel and Palestine because it has been weighing on my heart heavily. And I'm growing increasingly frustrated with how much it's becoming this platform, especially here in the West, for different groups to try to either monetize or capitalize or polarize. And it's really, really frustrating because a lot of people have opinions about it and we're not there. We're not living day-to-day life there. And you know what they say, there's always two sides and then there's the truth. But unfortunately, because of social media and the internet, and because that's where the money's at, the polarizing videos, the videos with the crazy news and with the scandals and with the crazy claims and with the most hate and the most outrage go viral. And then it polarizes and you see hashtag Free Palestine and hashtag I Stand With Israel. And people that may have never even been in that land have an opinion about it. And so I just want to look at a couple of clips with you guys. I want us to just educate ourselves a little bit. We're not going to dive into extensive history of Israel. You can Google that and look up various channels and various videos on the history of Israel. But I have a reason for where I'm going to go with why I want to look at this in just a second, because you know we're all about education here. So that's probably why you clicked on the video, because you want to learn. So here we go. There's a couple of things I want to look at today. First of all, just from the get-go, I want to say that it is not so black and white. It's pretty complicated. And naturally, as human beings, because we're tribal by default, biologically, just looking at our history, we are prone to feel like we have to pick one or the other side. That if we don't pick one side, we are standing with the other, or we find a sense of belonging, a sense of meaning to our existence as people when we are with one or the other group. And then when we see people hurting, of course, most of us, many of us, want to support. So depending on who we listen to, the narrative will change. And depending on the narrative, we will feel, due to compassion or due to fear, a need to stand with that people group. Because, of course, we don't want injustices to occur. And it's pretty tricky, even in recent weeks, what's been going on, because the internet makes it complicated. First of all, false news can spread easily. A headline goes viral in an article, on a video, people click on it and they find their information that way, and most of the time won't fact check. You can create things by having a prominent person speak on a topic, and those who listen will possibly follow without asking any further questions. You can create false realities with AI. So many things can be changed and created that may not be true. Narratives can be changed. And Israel and Palestine is dear to my heart because I have friends on both sides. I have been trying to learn more about what's really going on. And I asked someone who has people on the ground just to get more information on what's really going on. And I think it's so important that we ask more questions. First of all, when we look at the history of Israel, it's really complicated. I mean, we could go as far back as ancient Israel and Judah. We can look at the lands of old, the battle, some of which we find recorded in biblical scriptures, the battle between this rivalry, if you will, that is presented between the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael. We see battles between Israel and many, many nations. And so just as a disclaimer, or just as a way to start the conversation, when I hear people trying to stand with one side or the other, making it look like it's an Israel versus Palestine matter or Jew versus Arab, I already find a lot of ignorance, just to be straight up, with that alone. First of all, not every Arab is Muslim. There are many Arabic Christians, even in Palestine. Then you see even that even Jews or the people of Israel are not some pure breed. They are all for centuries and for so many thousands of years have been mixed and married amongst each other. So quite frankly, when it comes to race and nationality, just as it goes with the black and white debate in America and in the West, There's no way to really know where someone is originally from because we're all mixed to a degree. We're all cousins at the end of the day, just to put it in simple terms. So this idea of preserving a people as if they were pure blood from the beginning, to me, is false. The people of Israel, as we would refer to them, even in biblical times, were marrying with and mixing with all kinds of different tribes as far back as we can see records go. And then you have these various misconceptions when it comes to these conversations that create this idea that we have to pick a side, as if it's two opposing things. And you see through history, even through the history of Israel, that there were so many different phases, right? The first temple, the second temple, you see Rome and the Byzantine periods, you see the Muslim periods, you see the Crusades, you see the Mongol period, we know of the Ottoman period, we know of World War I, and then two, we know of the British that were in charge, and then how Israel gained its independence, how the Palestinian state, how the state of Israel was created, the Palestinian district. We know of Gaza and the Palestinians and the Gaza Strip. We know of the Palestinians on the West Bank. As mentioned, many Arabs that are not just Muslim by default, but also Christian or of other religions, right? It gets really complicated. It's not so black and white. And without diving into the various eras of Israel history, because we're not going to go into that today, you can research it, read books on it, look at videos and research on it yourself. But I'm saying all of this, I'm pointing out the different eras and all the different people that have come and gone, that have conquered and claimed, because ultimately it is all a giant game of risk. It is a money game, as Ren would say. It is all a flipping money game. And something that's been bothering me lately is that a lot here in the West, a lot of these videos, and that could also be due to the algorithm and the videos that are being pushed into my peripheral, I'm seeing a lot of people feeling the need to take sides, right? Those who scream free Palestine, to a degree understandable, because you're seeing people hurting, you're seeing kids. I cried when I saw the videos of children laying there slaughtered. That's the part that pisses me off the most, is that it's a bunch of adults playing money game, playing risk, and it's the children and the innocent people that are just trying to live their flippin' lives that are dying, that are laying there slaughtered, that one precious life that they got. It's a dang shame, and it pisses me off. But what bothers me is that I'm seeing a lot of adults, even here in America, using this as an opportunity to take a side. Now, you may ask, well, why are you talking about it, Rosalie, right? If it doesn't make a difference. I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about it. I'm not saying we don't march for different causes. We have a freedom of speech in this country, thankfully. There's a reason to speak up for things. But I think it's so important that we are careful. How are we letting them, the GOV, divide and polarize us? We're so quick to think we have to pick a side. We're so quick to say, well, I'm going to say I stand with Israel. I'm going to say free Palestine, when there's people hurting on both sides. Now, does that mean we don't take a stand for something? Does that mean we don't take a side when there's injustice? Of course not. But it's complicated. I asked somebody very, very close to me who has family on the ground, and she explained that there was footage of children being beheaded. There is still footage I saw myself of what seemed to be Palestinians parading or driving around a pretty much naked woman who they captured, most likely from the music festival in Israel. They were parading her around in the truck, spitting on her. A naked woman laying in the truck, who turns out is actually, I think, German Israeli. We have people and then you have people polarized instead of saying, this is terrorism. We're fighting the wrong enemy. Here in the West, we are feeding the frenzy, we're feeding the polarization because we think we have to pick a side instead of saying, you know what, who is the common enemy? Hamas is the common enemy, the terrorists. My friend who, again, has family on the ground explained to me that there were videos of beheaded children. There was footage of the horrors that Hamas was doing. Are we really supposed to expect Israel is not going to fight back? No. Would we? You best believe we would. Would we really let someone come into our house and hurt our children and rape our women? Just because we can't find the videos so much anymore doesn't mean it didn't happen. And that's part of the problem with the internet. Footage is altered, appears and disappears. And then we believe people that say there's no evidence. That's actually not what happened. Pretty slick. My friend said that very well. It's smart, actually, how Hamas has turned the story now. Now where there's stories coming out of Hamas releasing some of the non-Israeli, the American or European hostages. What, as if to make themselves look better? Is that the idea here? That they are now not as bad as we think they are? Or just because videos cannot be found anymore on the internet? Which, by the way, side note, is what makes me angry too. We have so much access to pornography, to crazy, immoral, wicked things without restriction, where we have to try to protect our children because they could easily access it if we don't watch out. Yet when you have videos where you see violence that's actually happening, not on Netflix, not fictional for our entertainment and indulging, but actual violence, that suddenly can't be found. That suddenly is restricted. That suddenly now has limits on it as to what you can watch and what you can talk about. But you can go watch it fictionally on all the platforms available. That's the hypocrisy here, and that should already tell us something. When it's entertainment, acted out by actors for money, it's free for all. It's fine. From violence to pornography to perversion. But when it's real footage, somehow the videos disappear. Because it's all a flippin' money game. It's a risk. Another thing that concerns me is, why are we not, instead of pointing the finger between Palestine and Israel, and hear me out, it's understandable that there is anger when you see Palestinians hurting because they want their own land. That is understandable. I too don't want them bound between walls. I was in Israel and in Palestine myself, and I saw the wall with words written on it. I want my ball back. Horrible to see people confined. None of us want to be restricted. That's part of our existential desire, our human right, our longing to be free, not to be restricted to a label, not to be restricted to a wall or to borders. But then we tend to demonize one nation and say it's all Israel. How dare they shoot back at Gaza? How dare they shoot at this strip, at this hospital? And then you have resources that say it wasn't Israel that shot at the hospital. Actually, that was a misfired bomb. There's proof, there's evidence, some will say. But do we do the research? Are we listening? Are we searching for the truth? Or do we just hear that innocent people lost their lives in a hospital and now we demonize Israel? Regardless of who shot the bomb for a moment, it is horrible that children and innocent people lost their lives and are losing their lives, both on the Israeli and the Palestinian side. But who is the common enemy here? According to a survey, the majority of Palestinians are not happy with how the Gaza Strip and that region has been run. Many of them would prefer for Israel to run things as long as they have certain freedoms and land for themselves. Without going into details about what the statistics, the study says, according to what I understood, the majority actually would prefer to have a different type of government. And that's where we have to be careful not to be so polarized, us as Americans and us here in the West. Who are we listening to? What narrative are we listening to? According to these studies, I know statistics can be tricky because people lie and they are selective with what type of information they research and, the case study that they use to present their facts. But according to that information, the majority doesn't like how things are run. The majority doesn't want to be at war. The majority would prefer a peace pact and separate states. So the heart behind wanting to free Palestine is understandable. Both there, the people that are actually living that life, and those from all around the world rallying together saying free Palestine. Because who wants to be bound? Who wants to see people suffering? And I agree. But before we demonize the opposite, in this case Israel, we have to ask, was that bomb really sent from Israel or was it Hamas? And the same goes vice versa. When we look at Israel and we say, I stand with Israel, you find a lot of Christians standing with Israel, half of them that haven't even read the Bible fully. The other half that doesn't know the history behind Israel and Palestine. Many of us who don't spend enough time to dive deep enough to understand the differences between Judaism and Christianity. Where the Old Testament could stand by itself, the New Testament can't exist without the Old. Yet people will just go with what the pastor said. They will go with what they heard. And they will say, I stand with Israel because that is the promised people. Yet the Jews reject the Christian faith because there's a lot of discrepancies there. False translations, things taken out of context. We won't go into detail right now. It is not so black and white, both in a religious sense, both in a political sense. But what I do believe is that it's all a giant game of risk. I'm saying all this and I'm on this rant because my heart grieves for these people. And I see these clips and we'll look at a couple of them together of various people or personalities and people that I respect or that I enjoy following and listening. And let's talk about some of this. And let's not be so quick to be polarized. Let's be careful who we're listening to. And then to figure out what are we going to do from there.
I will condemn Hamas when Piers Morgan condemns Israel. How about that? I will do.
Okay, and this is a big problem. I like this lady, actually. I follow her on social media, Sadia Psychology. I'm subscribed to her and I will continue to be because I enjoy her content. But this statement to me is dangerous. She says, I will condemn Hamas if Piers Morgan condemns Israel. First of all, we don't need a Piers Morgan to condemn anything to figure out where we stand. Second of all, how the heck are we going to compare Hamas to Israel? I would understand if we said, I will condemn Palestine, or I will have an issue with Palestine if this person has an issue with Israel, because there's blood on both hands, okay? But to compare a straight up terrorist organization that is not only terrorizing Israel, but terrorizing and using its own people, the Palestinians, as a human shield, to say, I will condemn them when Israel is condemned. Why are we not realizing what the common enemy is here? Why can't we all come together and say, we're going to go after Hamas? We're going to go after these terrorist groups because they don't give a rat's butt about the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. They don't care. Matter of fact, I was informed, I don't know how true this is, that the Palestinians were told to shelter in place by Hamas, by their own government, knowing Israel is not just going to sit back and take the war. They were going to fight back, and the Hamas knows that. But that's also a slick strategy. I've mentioned this before when it comes to the race wars in the West. You have a government that is telling you to point the finger at somebody else, telling people of color, you are a victim, you are less than your fellow white brother. Y'all know I don't like saying white and black, but for the purpose of the conversation, I will. We have a government telling black people, you can't achieve what the white person can. The white man is your enemy. You have less rights. You're at more risk. Instead of empowering people to create the life that they want, I'm telling them that they're doomed from the get-go. And I'm pointing the finger at their fellow man. What is that going to lead to? The black man is going to start hating the white man instead of coming after the government that put them in that box to begin with. The white and the black man are going to start thinking they're enemies in this race war instead of saying, you know what? No, you're not going to tell me that I'm less than. You're not going to tell me that I'm bound to die and suffer and have less access to benefits and privileges because of the color of my skin, and then blame my fellow man so that we both turn against one another. It's a distraction. A house divided itself cannot stand. And the same thing I see here. You have Hamas telling its own people to shelter in place. So when Israel fights back, which self-defense they would have a right to at this point after they've been bombed the way they did the other day. You have Israel fighting back. Now Palestinians are getting killed. Now the world looks at Israel and demonizes Israel. And Hamas can sit back and say, thank you, doing the job for us. Hamas is becoming famous. Hamas is becoming romanticized and becoming known on the map. And we're just following it like sheeple.
It when Jordan Peterson condemns bombing of hospitals and ambulances and schools. I will condemn Hamas.
I'm pretty sure Jordan Peterson would condemn bombing of ambulances and schools. But why is Hamas not telling the Palestinians to get out? That's where, I don't know, I'm not on the ground, and that's where I struggle. You know, it wouldn't surprise me that Israel bombed. And it's wrong. I hate it. I hate any of this happening. But why are we not looking to the terrorist groups that are starting this? Why can't we sit down and have these conversations?
When Ben Shapiro condemns the people that use fake images to pretend that there was killings of children and babies, when really you're the one that are bombing babies and children, because Gaza is 50% is under 50.
Okay, and this is tricky. So I believe it's very possible fake pictures are being put out on the internet to pretend children are being killed. But can't the opposite be said about the Palestinian side? Those pictures and videos of Palestinian babies being killed in the hospitals and schools, that's fake? See, it always depends on which narrative we're listening to. In this case, Sadia is saying the pictures of Israel children and women being raped is fake. And it's true, from what I understand also, that Gaza is predominantly under 15, many children and babies. But who's to say that the pictures of these Palestinian kids being killed in the hospitals and schools is not fake either? That's my problem here, is that we don't know. And things can be easily altered and changed. And that's so sad, because then you have a people where no one knows what to believe anymore. And we're polarized depending on what the algorithm feeds us. And that's why I'm bringing this video to you, because we need to have this conversation. We need to slow down being so quick to pick a side.
Indeed. So don't ever think you can bully me into saying anything. That's never going to happen. I'm not going to condemn Hamas any faster than you guys are going to condemn Israel. When you do that, I'll do it.
I'm condemning both. I'm condemning the adults, the people, especially in the government, who are playing chess, who are playing risk for the sake of having power over a country. Now, does that mean that one person just lets it all go and goes, you know what, you can have it, here you go? No. The answer is also not just saying, oh, all hands off. That would also not be wise, because Hamas doesn't want to just have their own state. They want to destroy Israel, from what I understand. And that's a big difference here. Are we willing to sit down at the table and figure out how we can split up the land so everyone can freely live? Or is one group trying to destroy the other and eliminate them? But we have to figure out who the common enemy is here. Who is really trying to destroy who, and how can we fight them together? All of it is politics.
Sounds childish? Cool, I'll be a child. People keep asking me to do is...
And so you see different people having opinions about different things. And again, I like and respect this woman, but I don't think that I think we're missing the mark with who the real enemy is here. That's my problem. We're missing the mark with who the real enemy is. And that is the terrorists that are willing to kill. It's the adults, it's the governments not willing to come to an agreement. And it should be we the people saying enough. Let's bring in some music, because we also love having music on this channel. And let's listen to this Israeli boy. And let's talk about how that will impact people's views and perception. You know, it makes me want to cry. This is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Shema Israel, hear, O Israel. You hear the shofar being blown, you hear the people cheering, and this too has an emotional impact on people. I can see many people in the West, especially in America, especially Christians, thinking, oh yes, love Israel because of their religion, and they see the ties between, their faith and Judaism and Israel, and the promises that are made for Israel. And at the end of the day, I'm seeing people here, and even this young boy singing so beautifully. The crowd cheering. You see these Israeli soldiers, right? It increases, it awakens a level of patriotism, even if you're not Israeli, even if you're an American or from anywhere else in the land. It impacts us. Music has an emotional effect on us. And so there's all these different videos out there. An Israeli boy singing, Jewish soldiers fighting. You hear stories of, how they're rallying together from the reserves, going active again to fight for their land. Especially to the American, I could see that being like, not only patriotism, because many Americans can relate to that, but also, and I could see to many Americans this evoking a level of patriotism, right? Hoorah, love for your country. And then you tie in Christianity and, Christians, the way they, feel connected to, the way the Christians feel connected to Israel. And then you have all these different aspects. And that's why I want to talk about these things. I want us to be able to have educated conversations and for us to be honest with ourselves about how we perceive things as human beings, our religion, our upbringing, our friends. I feel a close connection to Israel and Palestine, and it's been breaking my heart. For one, I'm a mother. I'm seeing pictures of these dead children and it makes me cry. I have friends on the ground in Israel and on the Palestinian side in the West Bank. I've been there. I've been to Ramallah, to Abut. I love Arabic. I love Hebrew. I think this, at the end of the day, are people. And what breaks my heart the most is that these are all human beings, children, men and women who love their country, who want to live, who want to thrive, who want to pursue happiness, who want to be free, who want to not be killed. And that goes for all sides. That goes for the Israeli side. That goes for the Palestinian sides. Your average person, just day to day, would probably just want to simply live and take care of their family. But it is a giant game of risk. It is a money game. And where it may not be the individual that hates. It is the collective, it's the institutions that fuel. And if we're not careful, we feed into that and we are so easily polarized. And then you add the internet and these clips just being an example, they come across your feed and you may either disagree or agree with. And the more you watch something you like and you comment on, the algorithm feeds you more of the same content. And now your perceptions are being reinforced and you feel more and more strongly about the same matter because that's what the algorithm is feeding you. And then you had people here taking sides. Hashtag Free Palestine, hashtag I stand for Israel, I stand with the white and blue, whatever you want to call it. And you have a bunch of people hating each other. But what are we actually going to do to make a difference? Because the people that are suffering the most are the average Joe, the person simply trying to live life. We're pawns. We're pawns being polarized, being played in this power struggle called risk. It's a giant game of risk. And it makes me angry. And no, I'm not coming to you because I have the solution. I'm not coming to you because I know for a fact who did what, when, and where, and how, and which video was fake and which is real. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a bomb by Hamas that went off on the hospital. But it also wouldn't be of no surprise if Israel is actually killing people in Palestine because they're at war and it's a back and forth and people hurting on both sides. But it's not okay for us to condemn one or the other. The people suffering most of all are the children who need our protection, who need our love. It's people suffering and hurting, and it pisses me off. So all of this to say would basically be careful of the narrative of what you listen to. Take a step back, educate yourself, and understand it's not so black and white. It's not them versus the others. We have to figure out who the common enemy is here. And I would argue right now it's the terrorists that are either killing people themselves or using their own people as pawns to be killed. It just sucks. That's the conclusion of this video today. People suck. Subscribe. I'll see you on the next ride. I'm kidding. I'm not going to end the video like that because there's no hope in it. But listen, I don't even know how to end this. I just wanted to share different clips with you that have been coming across my feed so we can talk about this a little bit. Because I don't think that we're being told what's really happening. This is what they don't tell you about the whole situation with Israel and Palestine. There's no easy answer here. I want peace for Israel and Palestine. I just want people to be okay and at peace. And I think until we as people, that goes for the Israelis and Palestinians on ground, I believe, in my opinion, that goes for every one of us here in America and wherever you are in the world, until we realize that it's often the decisions and the things that are being said from high up that are influencing. And we need to stop being sheep and we need to stop just following whatever we're being told and start thinking for ourselves and start coming together as people and saying enough. We're not going to keep fighting each other. It's not black versus white. It's not Israel versus Palestine. It's them playing the game of risk. We need to stick together because we just want to live in peace. There's enough land for all of us. I know that sounds idealistic. There's no easy answer. But I just want to encourage us to wake up and to think and to research and then not be so quick to be polarized, especially here in America, because I'm seeing that just happening more and more over these last few weeks. It causing debates and videos going viral because people are saying this and saying that. And we're not on the ground. So let's find ways to help. Let's find ways to love one another. And let's find ways to do better in our own home, in our own lives, in our cities, in our countries. You can start on a micro level. You can't change the world in a day, but you can start with yourself today. Keep choosing life. I'll see you on the next ride.